I accidentally got my mom's best friend pregnant. Honestly, it's not all on me. 3 days ago, I'd just broken up with my girlfriend and went to chill at a bar. This pretty drunk woman came over and started talking to me. We chatted a bit and seemed to click. Then, kinda dizzy, we ended up in a room together. The next day, I found out she'd already left and I didn't know a thing about her. The sunlight was streaming through the thin curtain on the window. The room was spinning and my eyes were burning. Music. I sat up with a pounding hangover. There were only faint marks on the sheet, proving that last night wasn't just some drunk dream after getting dumped. My name's Lin Chen. I'm 22. I'm in my third year at Zhongcheng University. Just 24 hours ago, I was still the poor guy who got humiliated in public by the prettiest girl on campus. Sutin, the girl I spent half a year trying to win over at the milk tea shop. At the school entrance, in front of a bunch of people, she threw the tea with milk I gave her on the ground. She said I was a poor loser. She said I couldn't give her the life she wanted. She said Wang Hao, the rich second-generation guy from the finance class next door, could buy her the newest iPhone without even thinking, while I couldn't even afford to buy her a lipstick. I was so mad my hands were shaking. In the 3 months I'd been with her, I'd saved on everything. I spent all the money from my side jobs on her. In the end, I ended up with the reputation of being a poor loser. I just smiled and said, "Good luck finding a rich guy." Then I turned around and walked away. That night, my dorm brothers noticed I wasn't doing well and took me to Rosemary Bar, the most popular spot in Zhongcheng. They said they were going to help me heal my broken heart. I wasn't really in the mood, but after a few shots of whiskey, my head started spinning and all I could think about was that line from Suing. "You're just a poor, useless student." The more I thought about it, but I swallowed my frustration. So I grabbed my glass and headed to the bar. That's exactly when she fell into my arms. A sweet gardenia scent wrapped around me right away. I looked down and saw that woman in my arms. She was wearing a black spaghetti-strap dress with a matching blazer over it. Her long hair was down, some strands stuck to her flushed face, and there was a slightly tipsy smile on her lips. Her body was really beautiful, especially those long legs and black stockings. Crossed legs, just like that, all casual, making me unable to look away. Sorry, little brother had too much to drink. Her voice was soft, a bit husky, totally different from that affected, sweet tone. Tutuin gave me chills. I quickly grabbed her. The alcohol was kicking in, and my mouth moved faster than my brain. "It's okay, sis. If you can't stand, you can lean on me. I'm steady." She laughed right away and didn't pull away. With my hand supporting her, she grabbed my glass off the counter and took a big gulp of the leftover whiskey, raised her eyebrow and looked at me. I ended the relationship drinking alone to drown my sorrows. Right then, I'd already given up trying to hold myself together like I was just throwing out the trash. I told her everything about Suing leaving me. She listened quietly. Every now and then, she'd say 1 or 2 lines like that girl had no clue, and that a good-looking guy like me, if she were a few years younger, she'd have already chased after me. That really made me happy. My self-esteem, which was already pretty low, got a boost from just a few words from her. The more I looked at her, the more I liked her. Mature and beautiful, kind, and she even understood men. We kept drinking, glass after glass, talking about all sorts of things. All I knew was her name was Lily. The more we drank, the more dizzy I felt, but my body kept getting warmer. She leaned on me and breathed in. The air brushed against my neck, making me restless. Inside, feeling a bit dizzy, I helped her out of the bar. She lifted her head and said, "Little brother, you got the guts to come with me?" Right then, my head was racing. It wasn't just about me going. I was ready to face anything. I flagged down a taxi and told the driver to take us to the fanciest hotel nearby. She leaned against me the whole way, real quiet, just holding onto my arm the entire time. After that, my memories turned into fragments. All I remember is the warm yellow light of the hotel room. I remember the nice scent of gardenia on her. I remember how soft her skin was. I remember her leaning close to my ear, calling me little brother in the sweetest voice, and those long legs just barely showing under her black stockings. I almost lost my mind. Tessin, what breakup? I threw all that nonsense out the window. All I knew was that in that moment, the woman in my arms was the best in the world. But then I woke up and she was gone. I tossed and turned for a long time, and on the nightstand, besides what was already there was a sealed bottle of mineral water and a thin black hair ribbon. She didn't leave anything else behind. It was like that intense woman from last night was just a drunken hallucination. I grabbed that ribbon and brought it close to my nose. There was still a faint scent of gardenia. I couldn't quite put my feelings into words. A bit empty, a bit strangely satisfied, and a bit restless. After all, it had been a memorable night, but it felt like a waking dream. I took a shower at the hotel, changed clothes, tucked the ribbon into my pocket, and only then slowly stepped out of the hotel. Just as I got to the edge of the street when I got a call from the dorm leader. On the other end, he shouted, "Channy, where have you been? I called you last night and you didn't pick up. Sug brought that rich kid and he's waiting for you downstairs at the dorm, saying he's going to embarrass you." I laughed it off, feeling nothing at all in my chest. If it had been yesterday, maybe I'd still be mad. Maybe I'd still feel humiliated. But after what happened last night, now when I look at suing, all I feel is how pointless it is. With that, her boring style doesn't even come close to her sister Lily from last night. She's way out of her league. Let her wait then. Does she think I'm scared of her? I grabbed a taxi and told the driver the school's address, answering him slowly. I've got a few things to say to her too. 20 minutes later, the taxi stopped right under the school dorm. From a distance, I saw her holding Wango's arm. She was standing by the flower bed in front of the building, and around her some students were watching, pointing this way and whispering. The moment Suing saw me, she got all fired up. Right then, she let go of Wangu's arm and came over to me in high heels, a mocking smile playing at the corner of her mouth. Lynchinin', so you still know how to show up? I thought after I dumped you, you'd be off crying somewhere. Wangha came over too, reached out and wrapped his arm around Su King's waist, looking down at me with a scornful glare. Kid, let me tell you something. Quentin's lucky to be with me. With that little allowance you get every month, you can't even buy her a lipstick. So stop dreaming about something that's never gonna happen, within my reach. The people around burst out laughing and pointed at me. Before, I would have definitely turned red with anger and argued with them, but now I just scratched my ear. I looked at Suing and smiled slowly. Sugan, do you really think you landed some second-generation rich kid and suddenly rose like a phoenix? Susan's face immediately tensed up. Lin-Chen, what do you mean? Nothing much. My eyes drifted over her. Her body, that designer dress that was clearly bought for her by Wang Hao, and my tone came out kind of troublemaker. I just think you could be a real person, but you keep acting like a decoration. It can't be easy either. You say he buys you bags and clothes today. Tomorrow, he might dump you and trade you for someone else. Do you really think he's being honest with you? Shut up. Wang Ha got pissed right away, took a step forward, clenched his fist, and came at me. Kid, you want to get your ass kicked? I stood my ground and even stepped forward. I pointed at the security camera above and said, smiling, come on, give me 5. The school camera's gonna catch everything clear as day. If you lay a hand on me, I'll hit the floor right away. If I don't get 100,000 or at least 80,000 from you guys, I'll change my last name to yours. After all, I've got nothing to lose. I'm not scared of those who have plenty. Your family's loaded. Let's see if the school's gonna protect you, the rich kid, or just a regular student. Wangu's fist froze midair. His face turned red. He couldn't move forward or back. He was embarrassed. That was too much. The laughter around us suddenly shifted direction. Everyone started pointing at Wangu. He'd never been humiliated like that before. He clenched his teeth and called me a poor loser, but didn't dare do anything else. I looked back at Suing. Her face kept switching between red and pale. She was shaking all over with anger. I smiled and added, besides, don't think I was that upset about you dumping me. Honestly, the girl I met last night is 100 times prettier than you. 100 times. Nice. And her body totally leaves you in the dust. Compared to her, you're just a boring little girl. I should actually thank you for dumping me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have met someone this great. As soon as I said that, Sukwin's face turned green. She yelled, Lynchen, aren't you ashamed? Even if I'm not, I'm still better than you. The one who only cares about money. I waved her off, not having the patience to waste time with her. I turned and headed back to the dorm, leaving a group behind me, curious and fuming with rage. When I got back to the dorm, 3 brothers immediately surrounded me and started showering me with compliments, saying I looked way too good just now and left that couple speechless. The leader patted me on the shoulder and said, You nailed it, Chensi. One night out and you woke up. Did you really find a pretty sister? You're not just bragging to us, right? I smiled and pulled that black hair tie out of my pocket. I placed it on the table and raised an eyebrow. Why would I lie? For you guys? I never brag for no reason. The 3 brothers came over right away, staring at the hair ribbon, eyes locked on it, and all started asking at once, what exactly happened? What was their sister like? How old was she? And what did she do? My head was spinning with all the questions. I could only give vague answers. It was a chance meeting at the bar, and I didn't say much more. It's not that I didn't want to talk, I honestly didn't know anything. In the days that followed, I would touch the hair ribbon in my pocket and think about my sister Lily from that night. She was like a gust of wind. She came into my life, messed up my heart, and disappeared without a word. Just when I was about to start treating it like some buried adventure deep in my chest, my mom called me. Her name is Junglan. She's a typical northeastern woman, straightforward and full of energy. She runs a small grocery store in Jiangcheng. Life's not wealthy, and I usually listen to her a lot, except for the odd stubborn argument here and there. Just as I answered, and my mom's loud voice came through the phone. Sheenan, are you coming home this weekend? Your Aunt Liliman is back. Come eat here this weekend. I'm gonna make that sweet and sour pork you guys love. I was a bit stunned. Aunt Lyman, my mom has a ton of close friends. Since I was little, I've seen at least 80 or even 100 aunts. But Aunt Lan, I had a bit of a feeling about her. She seemed like an old childhood friend of my mom's. I heard that many years ago she went down south for business. Then he went abroad. I hadn't been there in over 10 years. My memory of her was pretty blurry. Aunt Lyman? Which Aunt Lyman? I asked casually. Who else could it be? Kaylima, my best friend. When you were little, she even held you and bought you powdered milk. My mom said from the other room, annoyed. Girl, your memory's gone. Come back soon for the weekend. Your Aunt Liliman even said she wants to introduce you to a girl. Heard you got dumped, so she's gonna help you out. Just hearing about meeting someone through an arranged date gave me a headache. I answered quickly. Okay, Mom, I got it. I'll definitely be back by the weekend. So after hanging up, I didn't think much about it. It was just my mom's best friend coming over for a meal. As for me setting someone up, I just needed to stall with a few words and that was it. My mind was only on Lily, my sister, from that night. How I wished I could meet another girl. The weekend came around fast. I slept until, at noon, I got up and freshened up a bit. Then I took a taxi home. My place is in a gated community in the old part of town. It's not far from the taxi school. The ride took about 20 minutes. When I got to my front door, I caught the sweet and tangy smell of pork coming from inside, along with a faint, familiar scent of gardenia. My heart skipped a beat. I froze on the spot. That smell was way too familiar. It was exactly the same scent that lingered in my nose that night at the hotel. I tried to convince myself I was just overthinking. It was just gardenia perfume. Lots of women wear it. How could it be such a crazy coincidence? I shook my head, grabbed the keys, and opened the door. Mom, I'm home, I called out, changing my shoes. I looked up and glanced into the living room. Just that look, and I froze on the spot. There was a woman sitting on the couch. She wore a champagne-colored silk dress, effortlessly elegant. Sunlight streamed through the living room window, casting a soft glow over her, mature and calm, elegant and charming. Her whole body just radiated femininity. And that face, I'd recognize it even if it turned to ashes. It was Lily, the sister from that night at the bar, the woman I had that unforgettable night with. The key in my hand dropped to the floor with a loud clatter, making a sharp noise. My mind went blank, like I'd been hit by lightning, buzzing nonstop. There was only one thought spinning wildly in my head. It's over. I slept with my mom's best friend, the woman who, according to my mom, used to hold me in her arms. When I was little, she bought powdered milk for me. And the person I was supposed to call Aunt was the night staff at the hotel. She heard the noise, turned her head, and her gaze landed on me. The moment our eyes met, I clearly saw the glass in her hand suddenly shake. The water almost spilled. The smile on her face froze instantly. There was a visible flicker of emotion in her eyes. Even her pupils shrank. But it only lasted for a second. She quickly hid her feelings and put back on a proper smile, but that smile looked kind of stiff anyway. Even the area behind the ear turned red silently. Shantinyan came back. My mom poked her head out of the kitchen, still holding a spatula. She smiled and called me silly for just standing in the doorway. Come on in and say hi. This is your Aunt Kaylima, the one I told you about. Call her Aunt already. I stood frozen, my legs feeling like lead, unable to move. I opened my mouth for a long time, but my tongue felt tied up. After a lot of effort, I managed to squeeze a few words out of my throat. Hey, Auntie, I said the word aunt almost through clenched teeth. She picked me up and bought me powdered milk. But what aunt? Just a few days ago at night, you were still hugging me and calling me little brother. Lima looked at me. The corner of his mouth twitched, showing a forced smile. His voice sounded a bit unnatural. Zanin Chen has grown so much. The last time I saw you, you were still this small. You were just a kid inside. I kept complaining nonstop. Aunt, now I'm way taller than you. My mom left the kitchen, wiped her hands, and gave me a light slap. Hey boy, come sit down already, talk to your aunt. The food will be ready soon. I sucked on the candy and went over to the couch. I sat in the armchair right across from Aunt Lima the whole time, not really knowing where to look. But out of the corner of my eye, I was watching her. Her legs were crossed, the calves showing just below her dress. Thin and pale, just like the feeling I had that night. Her fingers were slender and pretty, they were holding the glass. Their nails were neatly trimmed and painted with a soft polish. Rasa Nudie. Those were the hands that night that brushed down my back, leaving light marks. The more I thought about it, the more restless my mind became, and the more I thought, the more scared I felt. Even my back started to break out in a cold sweat. My mom kept talking nonstop beside me. Lon, you don't know. That guy was dumped by his school girlfriend a while ago, and has been a total mess every day since. I was really worried. You know, a lot of people? Hey guys, is there any trustworthy girl around? Introduce one to our Chen Shen. Lima took a sip of water, holding the glass, looked up at me. In her eyes, there was a teasing look that was hard to explain, mixed with a bit of embarrassment and irritation. The corner of her mouth curved and she said, Of course, what kind does Chen Chen like? Tell your aunt. Auntie's gonna keep an eye out for you. The water I'd just drunk nearly came back out. Auntie, that's a question you already know the answer to. What kind do I like? Not you, you know? I cleared my throat and held back the storm inside me. My mind froze up for a second and my cheeky side popped out. I looked at her and said slowly, I don't have many demands. I just like someone like you, Aunt Kay, mature and beautiful, kind and generous, someone who really understands people. As soon as I said that, everything went quiet. Kaylima's face suddenly flushed red all the way up to her ears. The glass in her hand almost slipped. My mom was stunned for a moment, then she laughed and she slapped him, saying irritably to her boy with no respect at all, "What kind of joke is this with your aunt? Is your aunt someone you mess with? Shut your mouth now." I laughed and said quickly, "Mom, I'm just kidding." "Aunt Kay, don't take it seriously. I just think you're the most elegant woman I've ever seen." Kaylima took a deep breath, and only after a lot of effort did she calm down. She shot me a hard look. That look was part warning, part embarrassment and irritation, and also a smile that was hard to explain. She put glass down on the table and smiled at my mom. "All right then. So the boy's just playing around. He's got some smooth talk inside. I used to have fun sneaking around." "Smooth talk? Auntie, you didn't say it like that night. When you said my mouth was sweet, you were way more honest than now." Soon my mom finished her food. Sweet and sour pork, ribs in sweet and sour sauce, and steamed fish, a whole table full. My mom called Lima over to sit at the table and kept serving her food nonstop. She talked nonstop about all those years, and only then I found out that Kaylima hadn't just come back to the country. She actually returned to Jiancheng about 6 months ago, started a cultural media company, and it was doing really well. Now she was a real businesswoman with a lot of assets, but in those 6 months she'd been busy with the company and didn't have time to meet my mom. I was even more shocked. So not only had I ended up with my mom's best friend, but also with a woman who was super wealthy. Meanwhile, my mom kept insisting we have a drink. I poured a glass of wine. A glass of red wine for Kay Lima and one for me too. Lima grabbed the glass and took a sip. She glanced at me every now and then, her eyes full of mixed feelings. Since my mom was right there, I got braver and started testing the waters. I picked up my glass, raised it toward Kay Lima. "A toast to you, Aunt Kiao. Welcome back to Jiangcheng." Tiao Lima clinked glasses with me, took a sip, and smiled. "Thanks, Chen Chen." I set my glass down and casually asked, "Aunt Kay, you work so hard. So do you usually go to bars to relax?" A few days ago, I went to the Rose and Mary bar with some coworkers, and I think I saw someone who looked a lot like you. I thought I must have been mistaken. As soon as I said that, Ka Lima's hand holding the rashes suddenly started shaking. The rashes almost slipped from her hand. Her face went pale right away. She looked up and stared at me intensely, her eyes full of warning, but my mom didn't notice anything wrong. The moment she heard I went to a bar, she blew up instantly and dropped the rashes, and she started scolding me. "Lin Chan, did you go to that kind of place again? How many times have I told you? Bars are full of all kinds of people. It's not a place for a student like you. After getting dumped, you decided to go off track." I smiled and apologized. "Mom, I messed up. I only went once with my friends. I won't go anymore. Besides, I was mistaken." The silhouette looked like Aunt Kia's, but it wasn't her. Only then did Alima exhale and take the chance to tell my mom, "Sister Lan, it's okay, the boy is already... It's normal to hang out and chill a bit with coworkers. I hardly ever go to bars, only sometimes because of clients and work." Shan must have seen it wrong. After talking, she even looked up and stared at me again. That look felt like she wanted to eat me alive. I was secretly enjoying it. I lowered my head and ate my rice, but the corner of my mouth kept twitching into a smile. That lunch had me on edge the whole time, but also really hyped up. I was pushing the limits the entire time, teasing a little here and there. There was this awkward moment when Lima looked scared and annoyed but didn't dare to blow up. It seemed funny to me since she'd been pretending to stay calm the whole time. While talking to my mom and giving me a warning look, by the end of the meal, she barely ate anything but drank quite a bit. Her cheeks stayed flushed the whole time, and that got to me. After we finally finished eating, my mom went to clear the dishes. Tiao Lima stood up and said she was leaving. My mom quickly asked, "Did you drink? You can't drive. Has Chen Chen even got his license yet? Let him take you home. Chen Chen, take your aunt home. Just come back after you make sure she's safe." My heart jumped with joy right then. I nodded quickly. "Don't worry about it." Mom, mission accepted. Rima opened her mouth to refuse, but my mom didn't give her a chance and kept pushing her toward the door, saying, "It's decided. I'm not comfortable letting you go back alone. Let Shanann take you. That way he can learn from you. Look at him, so young, and she's already a big boss. You can also help broaden his horizons." Tiao Lima had no choice but to accept. I grabbed the car keys and followed Kay Lima. We went down to the underground garage. Neither of us said a word on the way. The silence felt kind of weird. All you could hear was our footsteps, walking through the empty garage. When we got to a white Porsche Panamera, Kalima stopped, pressed the key fob, and the door unlocked. She turned to look at me. The polite smile on her face disappeared instantly. Instead, an embarrassed and annoyed look took its place. Her voice came out really low, like she was grinding her teeth. "Linchin, what did you mean at the table just now?" I leaned against the car, watching her irritated expression and finding it way too cute. So I smiled teasingly. "I didn't mean anything. Aunt Kay was just saying hi to you." "Shut up!" Kalima snapped immediately. She reached out to cover my mouth, but I grabbed her wrist firmly. That time. Her hand was soft, smooth, just like that night. Holding her wrist, I could clearly feel her pulse. My heart skipped a beat, and I couldn't help but take a step closer, almost right up against her. The underground garage lighting was dim. Only the emergency lights gently lit up her face. Her eyelashes were long, fluttering slightly. Her cheeks flushed. Even her breathing quickened. Aunt Kay, why are you hiding? I lowered my head and looked at her. My voice dropped to a softer tone. You were a teaser. That night, you weren't like this. You hugged me and called me little brother every other sentence. You were so sweet. So why now, when you see me, do you act like you've seen a ghost? Kay Lima's face turned even redder. She tried hard to pull her hand away, but she just couldn't let go. So angry, her eyes went red and she ground her teeth, saying, Lin Chen, let me go. Don't cross the line. That night was just a mistake. We both drank too much. Can't we just pretend it never happened? No, I answered without even thinking. I flat out refused. I looked her in the eyes and said, that wasn't an accident to me. Bye, Lima. I don't care if you're my mom's best friend or someone I'm supposed to call aunt. What happened that night? I take responsibility. Lima froze, staring at me with a flash of surprise in her eyes, like she didn't expect me to say something like that. I let go of her wrist, opened the driver's door, and raised an eyebrow at her. Get in the car, Auntie. My mom asked me to take you home. Safety. I can't leave her worried, right? Whatever you need to say, we'll talk about it slowly on the way. Aunt Lima stood there staring at me for a long time. In the end, she gritted her teeth, walked around, and got into the passenger seat. I started the car, drove out of the underground garage, and headed toward the riverbank. I knew the luxury apartments with river views in Jiangcheng were around there. A businesswoman like Kia Lima definitely lived there. It was pretty quiet inside the car. The only sound was the air conditioning was on as Lima leaned back in the passenger seat. Looking out the window, her profile was soft, but you could tell her emotions were all over the place. After driving for a while, she finally spoke up. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Lin Chen, about that night. I hope you never tell anyone, especially your mom. She's my best friend. If she finds out, we probably won't be friends anymore. I nodded. Staring down the road ahead, I said, I'm not going to tell my mom unless you want her to know. Tiao Lima let out a relieved sigh and said again, let's just call it an accident. What's done is done. From now on, we'll treat each other like any regular aunt and nephew. Sound good? I turned my head and looked at her. I smiled. Aunt Kel, do you really think that's possible? After everything that happened between us, how am I supposed to see you as just a regular aunt? Every time I look at you, I remember that night. I remember you holding me. I can do this. Lin Chen. Lima turned red with anger, reached out and gave me a light slap. Are you driving? Don't talk nonsense. I smiled and dodged, saying, I'm not talking nonsense. I'm telling the truth. Bye. Lima, answer me. Why did you drink so much that night at the bar and still come over to talk to me alone? Someone like you wouldn't just start chatting with some random stranger, right? The moment I said that, Kay Lima's expression darkened immediately. A trace of loneliness showed in her eyes along with a bit of anger. She turned her face away and looked out the window, her voice muffled. It's got nothing to do with you. How's that not true? I said. We've had a relationship. What's your business is my business too. I can't just be left in the dark about the woman who showed up in my bed all ambiguous like that. Tio Lima stayed quiet for a long time. Finally, she sighed and told me the truth. She had an ex-husband named Zi Feng. They were married for 8 years. In the end, they got divorced because their personalities just didn't match, and also because she could never get pregnant. When they divorced, Kay Lima gave him 10 million. That was more than fair, but after Sven got the money, he didn't handle it well. He spent his days gambling. In less than 2 years, he lost all 10 million and ended up owing a few million more in gambling debts. This time, when Kel Lima came back to Juncheng a sober and started chasing her every day, wanting to get back together, he was really just trying to squeeze more money out of her. A few nights ago, Zief arranged to meet her at the Rosemary Bar, saying he wanted to have a proper talk with her, but after she got there, Zifan slipped something into her drink. After taking a sip, she started feeling dizzy. Her whole body got hot, and her mind began to cloud. She realized something was wrong, so she took advantage of Zifeng not paying attention and quickly ran away. In the end, feeling dizzy, she fell right into my arms. What happened next just happened naturally. After that, I heard everything, got so angry I almost smashed the steering wheel. I clenched my teeth and cursed. That guy actually had the nerve to drug you. Is he even a man? Lima looked at me, noticed how irritated I was, and there was a flicker of surprise in her eyes. Then she gave a bitter smile. It's over now. Anyway, nothing serious happened. Nothing serious? I looked at her and said, if that night you hadn't bumped into me and had been taken by Zifeng, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Bye, Lima, this can't end like this. He dared to mess with you. I won't let it slide. Tia Lima was stunned and stared at me for a long time without saying a word. The people around her who knew about it either told her to let it go or were eyeing her money, trying to use it to win her favor. There was never anyone like me whose first reaction was to get angry and want to stand up for her. She looked at me. Her expression softened and her voice dropped. Enough, you're still a student. Don't get involved about that stuff. Song's a guy with no limits. You can't mess with him. I can't, Recon Desden. I've got nothing to lose. I'm not scared of some guy drowning in gambling debts. Why would I be? Aunt Kay, don't worry. Leave this to me. I promise he'll never dare bother you again. Lima looked at me with a mix of feelings in his eyes. He seemed like he wanted to say something, but in the end he didn't, just felt it quietly. The car soon reached the riverbank. At the Riverview 1 complex, the poshest residential area, Zhangcheng, over 100,000 per square meter. An apartment there cost at least tens of millions. I parked the car in the underground garage, turned off the engine, and turned to look at Kay Lima. We're here, I said, and Lima nodded. She unbuckled her seatbelt, looked at me, hesitated for a good while, then said, Lin Chen, thank you for bringing me back today. And about that night, thank you. I was stunned for a moment. I smiled. Thank me for what? For taking advantage of you? Kay Lima's face flushed red again. She reached out and gave me a light smack, sounding annoyed. Come on, I'm thanking you. If it weren't for you that night, I really don't know what would have happened. I looked into her red eyes, and my heart softened. I reached out and gently touched her head and said, No need to thank me. Protecting you is the right thing to do. Kay Lima's body went stiff instantly. She looked up at me. Her lashes trembled slightly. Her gaze held a feeling that was hard to explain. We were way too close. Our breaths were mixing. The mood inside the car got kind of weird all of a sudden. I looked at her full lips and couldn't help but slowly lean in. Just as my lips were about to touch hers, she suddenly turned her face away and pushed me. Her voice was a little panicked. No, Lin Chen, we can't do this. I'm your mom's best friend. Should you be calling me auntie? I saw how scared she looked. I didn't push it any further. I just smiled and said, okay, I won't pressure you, but Kay Lima, I like you, and that's not going to change. Bye. Lima looked at me and stayed silent for a long time. In the end, she opened the car door and walked away like she was running from something. She rushed to the elevator without even glancing back. I stayed in the car, watching the elevator numbers go up floor by floor, and couldn't help but laugh. Interesting, very interesting. After that day, my life completely changed. I wasn't the same anymore, just going to class and wandering aimlessly every day. Now I had a purpose. I started going to Kiao Lima's company pretty often, using the excuse that I was visiting my mom, because I was worried Fan might start bothering her again. Kalima's company was in the busiest part of Juncheng's CBD. She had the whole floor to herself. The place was decked out, fancy and impressive. The first time I showed up, the receptionist stopped me and asked who I was looking for. I said I was looking for Kay Lima and that I was her little brother. The receptionist looked confused and called Kay Lima's secretary. In less than 2 minutes, the secretary rushed down and took me upstairs. The whole way, she gave me a suspicious look. When I walked into Kay Lima's office, she was on a video call. Seeing me come in, she froze and almost dropped the pen she was holding. She said to the computer, "Pause for a moment." Then she muted the mic, glared at me through gritted teeth, and said, "Lin Chen, why did you come here running?" I smiled and walked over to her desk. I put the lunchbox on the table. She said, "My mom asked me to bring you some cooked soup. She said you've been busy with work and need to build up your strength. I came to see if that Z Fen guy started bothering you again." Lima looked at me annoyed and unsure what to do and said, "I'm in a meeting. Go wait outside first." So I nodded, not causing any trouble. I sat on the office couch and quietly waited for her to finish the meeting. Her meeting lasted over half an hour. After it ended, an employee came in to handing in documents. When they saw me sitting on the couch, everyone was secretly watching me, full of curiosity. As I left, they were still whispering by the door. I didn't even have to guess. They were definitely talking about me, this young guy, and what my connection was with their beautiful boss. After everyone left, Lima finally came over, hands on her hips, looking at me with annoyance, and said, "Lin Chen, what exactly are you trying to do? Show up at my company every day? The people at the company are already talking nonsense." I opened the thermal lunchbox, served the soup, and handed it to her. I smiled and said, "Let them say whatever they want. Anyway, I came to bring you soup. I didn't come here to cause any trouble. Drink it quickly. My mom made it with her own hands. It won't taste good if it gets cold." Kalima looked at the soup I gave her, hesitated for a long time. In the end, she took it and started sipping it slowly. She looked really sweet drinking the soup, her long eyelashes lowered, hiding the emotions in her eyes. I sat across from her and just kept watching. The more I looked at her, the more I thought she was absolutely charming. After that day, I started going to her company every day. Today, I brought the food my mom made. Tomorrow, I'd bring her some fruit. The day after, I'd bring a bouquet of flowers, using the sweet excuse that my mom wanted me to take care of her. But honestly, I just wanted to see her every day. Bye, Lima. The people at the company already treated me like her boyfriend. Their looks even carried a bit of respect. Even the receptionist, every time she saw me, she'd smile and say, "Hey, Mr. Lin." At first, Kay Lima kept kicking me out. But then, since she couldn't get rid of me, she just let me stay. The thing is, every time I joked around with her in front of the staff, she'd glare at me with a red face, but she never really got mad. I thought things would just go on like that, all chill. I figured I'd win her over little by little, and one day she'd agree to be with me. But about 2 weeks later, a problem came up. That day I was in class, when suddenly I got a call from Kay Lima. Her voice on the phone sounded a bit panicked and like she was about to cry. She said, "Lin Chen, can you come here?" As soon as I heard something was off with her voice, I got anxious right away. I didn't even bother with class anymore. I told the teacher I had a stomachache and ran out of the room. While running, I asked, "What happened? Is that Zfen bothering you again? Where are you?" "I'm coming over now. I'm at the hospital." Kalima's voice was really... My heart dropped and I started freaking out right away. I thought something had happened to her. I grabbed a taxi and rushed to the city's central hospital. The whole way there, my heart was in my throat. My mind was racing with all kinds of bad thoughts. About 20 minutes later, I ran into the gynecology ward at the central hospital and saw Lima sitting in the hallway. She was sitting on a bench wearing a white suit. Her hair was a bit messy. She held a piece of paper in her hand, her head down and her shoulders trembling slightly. She looked especially helpless. I rushed over to her quickly, crouched down in front of her and asked anxiously, "What happened?" "Lehman, where do you feel bad? Was it Alphon? Did he touch you? Tell me. I'll take care of him." Xiao Lima lifted her head and looked at me. Her eyes were red, full of tears. She stared at me for a long time without saying a word. Then she handed me the paper right in front of me. I took it, confused. I lowered my head and looked. It was a pregnancy test. It clearly said, early intrauterine pregnancy of about 5 weeks. My head buzzed and went completely blank. The pregnancy test almost slipped from my hand. My whole body went stiff. I stayed crouched on the floor, not reacting for a long time. Pregnant. What, Lima is pregnant? Is the baby mine? Those were the only thoughts running through my mind, repeating like crazy. If I'd been struck by lightning, it would have felt the same. I even forgot to breathe. I ended up with my mom's best friend, and now she's pregnant with my kid. I finally get why my mom always said, if you walk by the river long enough, sooner or later your shoes get wet. Well, I didn't just get my shoes wet. I fell right into the river. Tul Lima looked at my frozen face, and tears finally started rolling down hers. Her voice was choked up. "Lin Channon, I'm pregnant. The baby's yours." I snapped back to reality. I looked at her. Eyes were red from crying and my heart felt like it was being squeezed. It hurt and softened at the same time. I reached out and gently wiped the tears from her face. Then my mind froze for a second and my cheeky side popped up again. I ended up blurting out, "Really? Am I that good?" Nailed it on the first try. Lima, who had been crying all sad, froze instantly when she heard that. She looked at me with tears still on her face, a mix of annoyed and amused, and reached out her hand to me. She hit me and yelled in a crying voice, "Lin Chen, can you be serious? I'm almost dying of anxiety and you're still saying stuff like that." I quickly grabbed her hand, helped her up, and sat down next to her. Looking at the pregnancy test in her hand, I didn't know how to feel. There was shock and panic, but more than that, an indescribable happiness and a sense of responsibility I'd never felt before. I was 22, still a college student who hadn't even graduated, and I was going to be a dad. The mother of the baby was my mom's best friend, 16 years older than me. If word got out, it would probably blow everyone's minds. But I wasn't scared at all. In fact, I was kind of pleased. I looked at Kay Lima and asked seriously, "What do you want to do?" Kao Lima sniffled, wiped the tears from her face, took a deep breath, and looked me straight in the eye, steady. "Am I really going to keep this kid?" I was stunned for a moment. Then I smiled. I nodded. "All right. If you're going to keep her, then we keep her. I don't mind." This time, it was Kay Lima who froze. She looked at me with wide eyes like she didn't expect me to agree so easily. She'd been ready for me to tell her to stop the pregnancy, to stay away from her, or even avoid her altogether. She stared at me silently for a long moment, then took a bank card out of her purse and put it in my hand. She said, "Linchin, I can raise this kid on my own. You don't have to take responsibility. There's 5 million on this card, that should be enough. So you can buy a house and a car after you graduate, get married and have kids. I just have one request. Never tell anyone this, especially your mom. I've never mentioned it. Just pretend this kid has nothing to do with you. Maybe." I looked at the card in my hand, then at Kel Lima. Suddenly, I smiled. I put the card back in her hand, looked her in the eyes and said, word for word, "Kima, what kind of person do you think I, Lin Chen, am? I'm the kind of man who sticks around once he's involved, being with a woman, letting her raise the kid alone, and still taking money from her like a coward." Lima looked at me, eyes full of confusion. "So what do you want to do?" "Simple." I gently held her hand, looked her in the eyes, and said, "Seriously? I don't want money. The child is mine. I need to take responsibility. You're mine too. I want you, Tiao Lima. I want to marry you." "What nonsense are you saying?" Tiao Lima snapped right then, grabbed the... She suddenly pulled her hand back and looked at me like she couldn't believe it. "Lin Chen, are you crazy? I'm 16 years older than you. I'm your mom's best friend. You should be calling me auntie. How could we possibly get married? If your mom finds out, she'll be furious." "I'm not crazy," I said, looking at her dead serious. "So what? What difference does it make?" Yeah, we're 16 years apart, but young Jenning and Wang Fun have a 54-year gap and they're still doing fine. Besides, you're my mom's best friend. No, you're my blood aunt. That's different. Blood relation or not, nothing in the law stops us from getting married. And your mom, Lima looked at me with a shaky voice. Lan is my best friend. For me to be with her son and still be pregnant with your child, how do you expect her to accept that? She's gonna cut me off from my mom's side. I said my mom has a strong temper, but she loves me the most and she really likes you too. As long as we're honest, she'll come around. Even in the worst case, if she doesn't accept it, I won't. Letting go of her hand? No way. Giving up on this child? Absolutely not. T. Lima looked at me, tears starting to fall again. She was 38 that year, married to her ex-husband for 8 years. She dreamed of having a child. Tried every method, but never got pregnant. She thought she'd never have a child of her own in this life, but she never imagined that a single accident would actually get her pregnant. She wanted to keep the baby, but she was also ready to raise it on her own. She'd even thought about giving some money to Lin Chanin, so he would stay quiet forever and never show up in her or the kid's life. She never thought Linen would say something like that. This guy, 16 years younger than her, the son of her best friend, at the moment when she was the most scared and helpless, said he wanted to marry her and take responsibility for her and the child. She looked at me for a long time without saying a word. In the end, she covered her face and started crying. I reached out, pulled her into my arms, gently patted her back and said softly, "Stop crying. I'm here. If the sky falls, I've got you. I'll protect you and the baby." Lima leaned on me, crying so hard her whole body was shaking. All the pain and helplessness from so many years just exploded right then. After we left the hospital, I officially started my life as a future dad. I moved straight into Lima's spacious apartment overlooking the river, using the nice excuse of taking care of the pregnant woman. At first, Lima said no, but she couldn't resist me insisting. After she got pregnant, her morning sickness got really bad. She seriously needed someone around to take care of her. In the end, she agreed. I started learning how to cook for pregnant women. Every day I was on my phone looking up tutorials, what pregnant women could eat. I remembered it better than any class material. At first, the dishes I made were either way too salty or too sweet and tasted awful. Salima would throw up a lot after trying a bit. Seeing her suffer like that, I felt really guilty. I sneaked into the kitchen and threw away everything I had made. I almost cried from anxiety. If Lima saw, she came up behind me, hugged me, and said softly, "It's okay. Take it slow. You're already doing great." After that, I started learning to cook with the maid every day. I practiced for half a month and finally managed to make some decent dishes for the pregnant woman. Lima would eat the food I made with a big smile, saying my cooking was even tastier than hers, made. Besides taking care of her meals, I also walked with her every day, told her jokes, and made her smile. When she felt sick from morning sickness, I would massage her belly, give her water, and stay by her side all night without feeling tired at all. Lima started watching me running around, her gaze getting softer and her attitude toward me changing too. She wasn't cold to me like before. She even started acting a bit spoiled with me on her own, telling me things. About work problems, she would lean on my arms and imagine with me how things would be after the baby was born. Our relationship moved fast like that. We just needed to break the last barrier, but we were already pretty much like a real couple. Of course, my mom didn't know any of this. I told her I had rented an apartment with some classmates outside of school to make studying easier. She didn't think twice and believed me. But every time she called, she asked me to visit more often than Lima did. She used to say she didn't have an easy life on her own and that I should take better care of her. I'd always just smile and go along with it, secretly enjoying myself. "Mom, don't worry. I'm gonna take really good care of your best friend. I even got the kids sorted out for you." The days flew by. In the blink of an eye, Lima was almost 3 months pregnant. Her belly started showing a little too. The morning sickness eased up bit by bit, and she looked better and better. Her whole body gave off this warm, gentle, motherly glow, and I liked it. More and more of her. Just when I thought the days would keep going happy like that, trouble showed up at the door. That day, I went with Kay Lima to the mall to buy maternity clothes. As soon as we got to the maternity and kids section, we ran into 2 people, Sudion and Wang. The moment Suing saw me, her eyes locked onto me. Then her gaze shifted to Kao Lima standing next to me. Kay Lima was wearing a loose flowing dress that day, her long hair down, and she was holding my arm. Her whole presence was gentle and elegant, even pregnant. Her aura still stood out way above Sukim's. Susan's face immediately tightened. She checked Lima out from head to toe, then looked at me with a mocking smirk and said sarcastically, Lin Chen, so that's why after I left you, you didn't even get sad. You just found some rich woman to support you. Honestly, I never thought you'd be the type to live off others. Wang Ha came over too, wrapped his arm around Su Qing's waist and looked at me, disdain. Kid, it's nice living off other people. Want Brother H to introduce you to some? I guarantee they're way hotter than that older woman. As soon as he said that, Kalima's face went cold instantly. I still wanted to say a few things to them, but when I heard them call Lima an old woman, I got furious right away. My fists clenched so tight they cracked. I was about to jump them, but Lima held me back first. She stepped forward and shielded me behind her. Right then, she gave off the powerful vibe of a businesswoman. I spend money on my boyfriend. What's that got to do with you? Kao Lima's voice was cold but strong, no need to get angry. And you're the ex who dumped him? Sven took a step back, shaken by her presence but still tried to play it cool, lifted his chin and said, "Yeah, that's me." So what? He's just a poor loser. Besides mooching off others, he can't do anything. Poor loser, huh? Lima let out a cold laugh and looked at him. He looked me up and down with a bit of contempt in his eyes. My guy is young and good-looking, has good character and a sense of responsibility. He's 100 times better than that spoiled brat next to you, who just leans on his family and is good for nothing. You think he's poor? That Lima said that? Then he raised his hand, pointing around the whole mall. Then he said calmly, "This mall is a key cooperation project of my company. The entire maternal and child area on the 3rd floor was funded by me. The company I own is worth $1 billion. That one next to you? Even if you combined all your family's businesses, it wouldn't come close to a fraction of my fortune. What right do you have to say my boyfriend is poor?" As soon as she said that, Su Qing and Wang's faces turned pale. Wang's family ran small businesses worth a few tens of millions compared to someone like Kay Lima, who was worth $1 billion. He was nothing. Tiao Lima looked at them and said coldly again, "Besides, you just called me an old woman. I'm 38. I built all this on my own. I've got a car, a house, and a business. There'd be a line of people wanting to be with me all the way across the river. And you, barely over 20, instead of working hard for yourself, just think about snagging some rich guy and being a trophy. What right do you think you have to laugh at me?" Su Quim's face kept switching between red and pale. She just stood there. The whole place was a mess. Without being able to say a word, people walking by came closer, pointing at them and whispering, laughing non-stop. Lima had no patience left to talk to them. She grabbed her phone and calmly called the mall manager. "Manager Zhang, there are 2 people harassing customers in the mall and disturbing the peace. Please have security remove them and never let them back in." Less than 2 minutes later, she hung up, and the mall security guys came running over without saying a word. They grabbed Suin and Wano and took them outside. Sudin was yelling and struggling, but it was no use. She could only be taken away by the security. Everyone was laughing as she was kicked out in a humiliating way, watching their backs, looking miserable. I was more than satisfied. I hugged Kay Lima right away and kissed her on the cheek, smiling and saying, "Sis, you were amazing. I love you so much." Kay Lima's face turned. She turned red right away. She gave me a light slap and said irritably, "There are a lot of people here. Don't cause a scene." Even though she said that, the corner of her mouth couldn't help but lift, and her eyes were full of smiles. After that incident, Xiao Lima finally accepted our relationship for good. That night, when we got home, she leaned on my arms and told me that she used to think our age difference was too big, and that because of it, being together was impossible, but she didn't care anymore. As long as she could be with me, she didn't give a damn what anyone else said. I hugged her, my heart completely melted. I lowered my head and kissed her. This time, she didn't pull away. Instead, she put her hands around my neck, hugged me back, and kissed me right back. Just as things between us were getting better and our days happier, that pain that never really went away showed up again. That day, I went to school to take a test and left the maid watching Kay Lima at home. But as soon as I finished the test, I got a call from the maid. She was freaking out on the phone. She said Fang had already gone there, causing a scene at the door, saying he wanted to see Kay Lima and even threatening to break the door down. As soon as I heard that, I got furious right away. I hung up, flagged down a car, and rushed home. On the way, I was cursing him in every way possible. When I got home, Zelfon was still making a scene at the door. He had 2 shady-looking guys with him, and at first glance, they didn't seem like good people. The neighbors had opened their doors, and they were sticking their heads out to watch, pointing at them. Kay Lima's door was tightly shut. The maid inside was terrified and kept calling me. I stepped forward and grabbed F by the collar, pulling him until he staggered. I clenched my teeth and cursed. "Song, you want to die? How dare you come here causing trouble?" Zfong was caught by me. He was stunned for a moment, then recognized me. A mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He shoved my hand away and looked me up and down. Who do you think you are, kid? You haven't even grown up properly, and you already dare to poke your nose into my business. I'm looking for my ex-wife. What's that got to do with you? Ex-wife? I let out a cold laugh. You should take a good look in the mirror. Do you even have the right to call her your ex-wife? You guys have been divorced for 8 years. You keep chasing her for money and stuff, and now you're bold enough to cause a scene outside her house. And don't you have any shame? The stuff between me and my ex-wife doesn't need some stranger like you sticking his nose in. Safume stared back at me. This guy's got a huge ego. I'm warning you. Lyman's pregnant with my kid. I came to take her home. Kid, get lost right now, or I won't be polite with you. As soon as he said that, I started laughing. I've seen shameless people before, but never anyone like this. I looked at him slowly and said, Your kid, Zalfon? You divorced her 8 years ago, and in all that time she never got pregnant. What kind of sperm is that? Stayed in her belly for 8 years just to show up now? The neighbors watching burst out laughing right away. Everyone was pointing at Zelfeng, saying he had no shame and was crazy for money. Zelfeng's face instantly turned red. Filled with anger and embarrassment, he clenched his fist and tried to hit me in the face. You're asking for it. I was already ready for that, so I dodged to the side and kicked him in the stomach. Zelfeng fell to the ground from the kick, grimacing in pain, and took a while to get back up. The two shady guys next to him, seeing their boss, they rushed over right away trying to pick a fight with me. I didn't freak out. I grabbed my phone and waved it in front of them. I said coolly, I've already called the cops. They'll be here any minute. Plus, I've recorded the whole thing, how you're causing trouble and harassing her right outside her place. Salf! Don't you owe the casino a few million? If you get arrested, you really think the casino folks will cut you some slack? The moment I said that, the two guys froze. Their faces turned pale. They were counting on Zveng to get by. And what's more, they were scared of the police and the casino staff. Zong freaked out too, got up off the floor and looked at me with a bit of fear in his eyes, but still tried to act tough. Kid, you'll see. This isn't over. After saying that, he ran off with the two guys, humiliated. Watching them run away, I let out a sigh of relief. I turned and knocked on the door, calling out to Lemon. It's me! Are you okay? The door quickly opened. Kalima threw herself into my arms, trembling all over. Tears fell down. I sat down and hugged her, gently rubbing her back and soothing her with a soft voice. It's over. Don't be afraid. I'm here. He won't dare come back. After that whole episode, I realized Zhou Fang, that reckless guy, if not dealt with once and for all, would always be a hidden threat. Right now, he was like a rabid dog, drowning in gambling debts, capable of anything. If he ever got cornered and hurt Kay Lima or the baby, I'd regret it too late. So I started making a plan against him, Zifeng. First, I asked someone for help and found out which casino Zifeng owed money to. I anonymously sent the casino folks Zifeng's current address and where he was headed. The casino crew started looking for Zifeng to collect the debt. As soon as they got the info, they sent people after him right away. Zalfan got surrounded by the casino guys several times and almost had his leg broken. He ended up hiding every day, miserable, and didn't have the energy to bother Lima anymore. Then I gathered proof that Jay Feng was harassing Lima and even stalking her at her doorstep. I handed everything over to the police. Alphon was like a rat on the street now. Everyone wanted to catch him. On one hand, he had to hide. On the other, he was running from the cops. Even Jian Chen couldn't stay anymore. He had no choice but to sneak out of the city and never dared to come back. After dealing with that huge problem called Zifeng, Lima and Meus finally got their peaceful days back, seeing everything I did for her. Lima fell completely in love. At that moment, that night, she leaned on my arms and told me she agreed to marry me. When the baby was born, we'd register the marriage. I hugged her, overwhelmed with emotion, almost in tears. I lowered my head and kissed her, telling her over and over that I loved her. We were both happy like that. Kalima's belly kept getting bigger. She was already over 4 months along. The pregnancy was obvious now. We even started picking out names for the baby, setting up the nursery, and dreaming about our future life. We thought that we should hide it from my mom and wait for the baby to be born, and once everything was decided, even if my mom got mad, she would eventually come around. But none of us thought you can't hide fire with paper. That day was a weekend. My mom called me saying she had made chicken soup and was going to bring it to Cow Lima to help him get stronger. I was at the market buying stuff for Lima when I heard that. The moment I heard it, I panicked and said I would stop by. I was going to grab it and take it to Kia Lima, but my mom said it wasn't necessary. She was almost at Kia Lima's building and decided to just stop by to see her. I hung up the phone and ran home like crazy with only one thought in my head. It's over. I'm going to get caught. I ran as fast as I could, but I still got there a step too late. When I got to Kia Lima's door, it was open. My mom was standing in the living room. The thermos had fallen on the floor, and the chicken soup was spilled everywhere. She just stared. I was in my pajamas. Then I looked over at Ka Lima, also in pajamas, her belly already clearly showing, trembling all over, her face pale and her eyes full of disbelief. The air froze instantly. It was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. I stood at the door, my mind blank, like all the blood in my body had frozen. My mom looked at me, her lips trembling for a long time, until she finally managed to squeeze out a sentence with a shaky voice. "Lin Chen, what are you doing here?" I opened my mouth but couldn't say a word for a long time. Xiao Lima panicked too and ran over, trying to support my mom with a shaky voice. "Sister Lan, listen to me explain." My mom suddenly stepped back, dodging her hand. Her eyes landed on Kay Lima's swollen belly, then went back to me. Her eyes immediately turned red. She finally understood the story about her best friend being pregnant, not knowing who the father was. The story about her son sharing rent with roommates away from home. It was all a lie. Her best friend was pregnant with her son's baby. Her son had gotten involved with the friend she grew up with. My mom's vision went dark and she almost fainted. I rushed over to hold her. Worried, I called out, "Mom, don't get upset. Let me explain." She came to, then suddenly shoved me away, raised her hand and slapped me. Whack! The sound was sharp and loud. My face burned from the pain. She pointed at me, shaking with anger. Tears fell right away. She gritted her teeth and cursed. "Lin Chen, you reckless kid. Do you even know who she is?" "She's my best friend." "Someone you call aunt, and you still did something like that. How did I end up having a child like you?" "Sister Lan, don't hit him." Zalima quickly stepped in front of me, protecting me, and said to my mom while crying, "Sister Lan, this isn't Chen Shen's fault. It's all on me. I was the one who started it. If you want to hit or scold someone, come at me." "Is it his fault?" My mom looked at Kay Lima with her eyes full of disappointment and pain, and we grew up together. I treated you like a real sister. And this is how you repay me. You get involved with my son and even get pregnant by him. How am I supposed to face you from now on? How am I supposed to face family and friends? Tolima looked at my mom, crying and shaking all over, unable to say a word, just kept repeating, "Sorry." The more my mom spoke, the angrier she got. She turned and ran to the porch. She grabbed the feather duster used for clothes and came at me with it. I ran through the room with my hands on my head, shouting, "Mom, listen to me. I really like Lima. We truly love each other. We already have a kid and we're going to get married." "Marry? I'll wipe you out, you reckless kid." My mom was fuming and chasing me with a duster. "She's your aunt, 16 years older than you. You want to marry her? Are you crazy? I'm warning you, I'll never agree to that. Only if I'm dead." Lima, with her belly, tried to stop me halfway through, anxious, crying nonstop. Afraid my mom would hit me and also scared she'd freak out from anger. The whole room turned into chaos. Everything got messed up right when my mom grabbed the duster and was chasing me with full force. Suddenly, Kaylima made a noise, held her stomach, and bent over. Her face went pale instantly. My mom and I stopped right away and looked at her, both panicked. I ran over quickly to hold her and asked anxiously, "Lehman, what's wrong? Your stomach is hurt?" Lima clenched his teeth, sweat cold on his forehead, grabbed my hand with a shaky voice and said, "My stomach hurts." My mom panicked too. The duster dropped to the floor. She ran over to Lima quickly and asked, worried, "Lima, what happened? Could it have affected the baby? Take him to the hospital fast, don't say anything else." I bent down and picked Lima up. I ran outside like crazy. My mom followed, so worried that tears were streaming down her face as she kept repeating on the way. After the exam, the doctor said it was just a scare during the pregnancy. Nothing serious, but the mom-to-be couldn't be exposed to strong stimuli anymore. She needed to keep her emotions steady and get plenty of rest. Only then did my mom and I finally breathe a sigh of relief as Lima fell asleep in the hospital bed. Her face was still a bit pale. I sat next to the bed, holding her hand, looking at her baby bump, feeling guilty and heavy-hearted. My mom stayed there too. She stood at the bedroom door, looking at both of us, not saying a word for a long time, her eyes full of mixed emotions. After a while, she slowly came in and gave my shoulder a light tap, her voice low and a bit tired. "Sheenan, come with me for a moment." I nodded. I gently let go of Kaylima's hand and left the room with my mom. We walked down the hospital hallway. She leaned against the wall, staring out the window, quiet for quite a while. Finally, she sighed. Then she looked at me and said, Chen, be honest with your mom. Do you really like her? Or was it just a spur of the moment thing? I looked my mom in the eyes and said seriously, Mom, I really like her. It's not just a whim. I want to marry her. I want to spend my life with her. I want to take responsibility for her and the baby. My mom looked at me, a hint of helplessness in her eyes, and sighed again. She's 16 years older than you and she's still my best friend. You've called her aunt for over 20 years. Have you thought about that? You guys together? What will people say? How will our family look to relatives and friends? I don't care. I said, Mom, we're the ones living our lives. Others can say whatever they want. All I know is Lima loves me and I love her too. We have a child and want to live happily together. My mom looked at me silently for a long time. Tears couldn't be held back and started to fall. Why are you so stubborn? I raised you since you were little. I just hoped you'd live in peace, find a good girl, get married, have kids, and live a stable life. How did you go and find something so huge for me? I reached out and gently wiped the tears from my mom's face, feeling so guilty inside. Mom, I'm sorry for making you sad, but I love Alaman so much. I can't live without her, and I can't live without this child either. My mom looked at me, then glanced at Kay Lima asleep in the room. Finally, she let out a long sigh and waved her hand. Enough, I get it. I won't interfere anymore. But Lin Shane, I'm warning you. This path was your choice. No matter what happens down the road, you can't regret it. You can't let Lan down, and definitely not the kid, or I'll be the first one not to forgive you. I froze right then, staring at my mom with disbelief. Mom, you agreed? If I don't agree, what can I do? My mom rolled her eyes at me, annoyed. The kid is already here. I'm still going to force El Man to stop the pregnancy, force both of you to... They separated. Man is my best friend. You're my son. If you two really want to be together, am I really going to cut ties with you? I was so moved I almost jumped. I hugged my mom right away and said, Mom, thank you. Thank you. That's enough. Enough. Don't say that. My mom patted my back and sighed. From now on, I don't even know how to figure out this family hierarchy. She's my best friend. Now she's my daughter-in-law. What kind of situation is this? I just couldn't. I tried to avoid it, but she said, That's double trouble. My mom rolled her eyes at me and didn't scold me anymore. She just said, Enough, go in and see Lan. She's pregnant and has been through so much pain. Take good care of her. I'll buy something for her to eat and make some soup to bring over. After saying that, my mom turned and left. Her figure looked a bit resigned, but also relieved. Watching her walk away, my heart felt completely warmed. I turned and went into the room. Queeman already, she had woken up. She was leaning against the bed, looking at me with tears in her eyes, but a small smile on her lips. She had heard the whole conversation between my mom and me. I went over, sat down beside the bed, held her hand, and said with a smile, Did you hear that? My mom nodded, and Lima nodded too. Tears fell. She reached out and hugged me, saying through her sobs, Linshin, thank you, thank you. I smiled back and hugged her. I lowered my head and kissed her forehead. I'm the one who should be thanking you. Thank you for agreeing to marry me and for agreeing to have my baby. Lima leaned on my arms, crying a lot, but with a heart full of happiness. I thought that once we got here, all our problems were solved and we could finally live peacefully, waiting for the baby to be born, but I had no idea an even bigger problem was coming next. The day Kilo Lima was discharged, as soon as we left the hospital, we were surrounded by a bunch of reporters. Countless microphones and cameras were shoved in our faces. Flashes kept going off nonstop. Reporters were all shouting questions at once. Mrs. K, is that young man next to you the father of the baby you're carrying? Mrs. K, we've heard that you and this man have a 16-year age difference, and that he's also the son of your best friend. Is that true, Mrs. K? Was your divorce from Mr. Zung because of this man? Sharp questions kept coming at us one after another. I was stunned. I quickly shielded Lima in my arms, blocking everything out. Those cameras and microphones, all with just one thing on their minds. How did the media find out about this? Who leaked the story? I looked up and scanned the crowd, and there he was, a familiar face, the fan. He was standing there with a cruel smirk, watching us, his eyes shining with the joy of revenge. Right then I got it. It was him. He leaked the story to the media. Tiao Lima was a famous businesswoman from Jiangcheng. This kind of rich family secret, a romance with a younger man, still, top son of my best friend and pregnancy. Any one of those points could blow up public opinion if Alphon wanted to take down T. Lima and destroy us. I looked at that cruel face of Zifeng. My fists clenched so tight they cracked, my eyes burning with rage. Shaolima was trembling slightly in my arms, holding on to my shirt tightly, staring at the reporters and cameras surrounding us. Her face went pale right away. I lowered my head and looked at Kaylima in my arms. Then I touched her baby bump and took a deep breath. I knew that the battle had just begun, but I wasn't scared. No matter how many storms were ahead, no matter the problems, the rumors, or the judgments, I'd protect her. I'd protect our son, protect our home, because I'm Lin Chen. I'm her man, her kid's dad, just rocking a baseball tee. Man, what's coming next is gonna blow your mind. Want the next part now? Then show the crew some love and smash that like.
Dhinchak, party hard, everybody put your hands up now. Dhinchak, party hard, everybody put your hands up now. Dhinchak, everybody dance now. Feel the beat, it's the Desi swag sound.